Three. We're live, Mr. Wade.
Good night. Good night to our Belizean people, both at home and abroad. Again, welcome to our 187 edition of Belizean Affairs on a blessed Wednesday, 28 August 2024. As always, we come to the nation, with what's really happening in our country. We are not about politics in terms of political party. We call it for what it is and how we see it and what we think about it. And there are lots of ills, there are a lot of injustice in this country. Um, like I say, we are about people and nation. And sitting with me tonight, again, our brother, Mr. Leonard Brackett,
Yes,
the
sir.
Friday night host. And we should be joined shortly by Gregory. Brackett is supposed to be in the background queuing up because we always show and tell. Um, our next host, Miss Sharon Pitts, is not going to be with us tonight, but she's in our prayers. And as always, we start our program with a prayer and then a reading. So I'll go straight to Mr. Leonard Brackett to lead us in a prayer.
Yes, sir. Uh, I'll just bow my head for a little bit, Mr. Chairman. Divine loving Father, thou who art the creator of heaven and earth and all that in them are, into thy hands we commend ourselves, asking that thou would continue to guide and protect and bless us, that thou would strengthen us, give us wisdom, knowledge, understanding, endurance, perseverance, and the fortitude to sustain this program and to be able to have the magnanimous conduct and guard our words as much as is possible within the framework of our required effort, since we are dealing with people who have no scruples apparently and or do not care for the very people that they're supposed to be leading. We pray that thou mayest bless our country of Belize, its people and its leadership, Lord. We pray that thou mayest bless this country of the United States, its people and its leadership. Bless the rest of our family members, friends, and loved ones wherever they are. The knowest them by name and number. Please continue to bless those people who are in harm's way. Have mercy upon them. Those who have need of food and clothes and shelter, grant them some reprieve. For we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Good night, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Leonard. Thank you for that warm prayer.
Yes,
And
sir.
my people, I will read you a reading from the letter of James from chapter 1, 12 to 27. Says, Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial. For when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. When desire, then desire, when it has conceived, gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is fully grown, bring forth death. Do not be deceived by my beloved brothers. Every good gift is every perfect gift, and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of light, with whom there is no variation or shadow due to change. Of his own will, he brought us forth by the word of truth, that we should be a kind of, of fruit, first fruit of his creature. Knows this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger.
Mm-hmm.
For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. Therefore, put away all filthiness and rampness, wickedness, and receive the receive with meekness the implanted words, which is able to save your soul. But be, be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer or of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently in his natural face in a mirror. For he looks at himself and goes away and at once forgets what he was like. But the one who looks into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and preserves perverse being no hearer who forgets, but a doer who acts. He will be blessed in his doing. If anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceive his heart, this person's religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their afflictions, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. That's my reading from the letter of James 12 to 27. Mr. Leonard Brackett, do
Yes,
you have
sir.
something you want to say before I proceed
Uh,
with my what I wanted to say before we go into the core of
yes,
our
sir.
show tonight?
Uh, I'd like to take the opportunity you're offering me to make a small comment, and that comment will be one of gratitude, first and foremost, to our regular listeners and those who listen to the program afterwards at their own convenience. I've been checking the numbers recently, and we've been having quite a success in terms of the amount of people visiting the site. And for that, I want to express, like I said, my sense of gratitude and thankfulness to those people who spend their valuable and important time checking into our show, hour and a half each show, and sometimes a little more. And I don't want to let them feel like we're taking their time and contribution and effort for granted, because by us getting a feedback from them and to know that they're at least listening to what we're trying to say, those who do, it gladdens our heart that we are making some kind of a progress, and our effort and words are not going on deaf ears or indifferent people. And the longer these programs stay out there on the internet, the more people get a chance to be able to come across it, hear what we are saying, and hopefully measure what we're saying against what they're seeing for themselves is happening, and realize that they also have a little part to play. Every little part that we do adds up to the extra that other people do to make up the difference. And I would like to say to those people, definitely, I consider them to be difference maker, because every little bit helps. We all can individually do it on our own, but together we may yet prevail. That is, to be in a position to save our country before we lose it. Thank you very much, Belizeans at home and abroad. God bless always.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard, for that input. And again, a heartfelt and warm thank you to those who view us and for those who support us. From us, thank you from the heart. And continue to support us because we bring truth and we bring things to people, you know, who the things that the regular news media does not bring across to you, right? And we are not afraid to say it because everything we say on this program is to benefit the poor and less fortunate. 98% of the things we say and do on this program is to benefit the poor and less fortunate and the voiceless, right? Isn't that true, Leonard? Right.
Very much so,
It's,
sir.
it's not about us because we are not looking for any fame or, or you know, any pat on the back, you know.
Mr. Chairman, if it was about us, we would probably want to be hanging around Hollywood a little bit more.
Exactly.
I
And
yield back, sir.
Leonard,
Sorry.
I don't know if you is aware, but from all the previous shows that we have done, 99% of the things we say comes to light. Comes to light. And the
Uh,
poor people,
Including
and
today's topic,
like
hopefully.
myself, lives it. Comes to light and we lives it and we are living in it now. Things that we have said a year ago
Mm-hmm.
is coming to light. Some had come to light and some are now coming to light. Like for instance, Leonard, I'll touch this quickly. We have mentioned when all the hullabaloo with Portico, we had mentioned the suits that was going to be lined up for the Belizean people way before Ashcroft got his millions settlement. And now we see what is going to happen. Mr. Feinstein is going to get his millions. And sadly, it's not going to come out of the pocket of Dean Barrow and the UDP that helped in where we at. And it's not going to come out of the pocket of Johnny Brisenio nor his party. Who do you think is going to pay or are paying these people? We, the taxpayers.
hundreds,
You,
hundreds
the
of millions,
taxpayers. Not
hundreds of.
little $10,000 or $20,000 or, little, no, no little chump change. Big money. You hear like the Mala guy says 50 million is pickings. Said it publicly, said 50 million. He said, Jules, that's pickings in today's days. So, my people,
Mr. Chairman, he was able to say that while telling on himself without recognizing that's what he was doing. Because
exactly,
the people that they're dealing with, of course, not to Mr. Mala, that's not pittance to Mr. Mala, but it's pittance to the people that they're pulling these deals behind the scene in our name and suborning our
exactly,
country's powers to these people
exactly,
without getting any taxes for to help us. But I yield
exactly,
back so now.
Leonard.
I hope you'll give me my turn to weigh in, so I don't want to distract more.
But we are just giving a heads up for those who haven't seen it or for those who do not know what is yet to come. But we see it and we know what is yet to come. That's why we have always said, Leonard, the worst is yet to come. Gradually, it's coming. The worst, we not get the shock of our life yet. It's coming though, by this two-party system we have in Belize. Sure, it will come. Surely it will come. Because we live and we see the cuttering guys. When I say the cuttering jib,
Hmm.
that's the little slang. And they're not changed, Leonard. They're like full speed ahead. And who dare to stop them? But anyway, my people, I just like to give a little sober reminder, right? And I know there are fanatics that does not like what I say or does not like things that's said on this program on Belizean affairs, attacking the fanatics of both parties. But as for me, I don't give a hoot.
Same here.
I express the way I feel as a born Belizean, as a taxpayer, and as a voter, and as a human being. So sad that you don't like what I say. But for those who like what I say, thank you, right? Or like what we do on this show and see on this show, thank you. Glad that, you know, your eyes are open, your ears are open compared to some of the fanatics, right? They could never see any wrong, although they go to bed sometimes hungry.
Hmm.
Sometimes they go to bed without their bills being paid.
Hmm.
Go to bed without, still don't get a job, have a job that was promised. But yet, you don't see these people who are supposed to protect and serve for who they are just because of patriotism to their party, right? Patriotic to their party. They don't care. But anyway, my people, I say, what has been your government priority? Is it people and nation?
No,
Is it providing jobs?
no,
Is it making your lives better?
no,
Is it dealing with poverty?
no.
Is it making your healthcare system better for the poor and less fortunate?
Only if you
Is it
have money.
making your schools better and affordable? Are they providing jobs? Are they creating a better future for your children? Do they want to fully implement UNCAC as they
No,
had promised?
no,
Do they want to ease the burden at the grocery stores for the poor and less fortunate and at the fuel pump, and the markets, the vegetable stalls. Every day you see prices go up, not coming down. Do they want equal representation
No.
and redistricting done? Are they going to leave our constitution alone? And are they going to hold yet another illegal election?
Yes.
So, my people, are you happy with the two-party system that has us where we are 2024? That has burned and black and poor and less fortunate Belizeans as slaves and in poverty and dependent on the politician. Are you happy with the system that give you no justice? I'm talking to the poor and less fortunate who cannot afford an attorney, who cannot afford representation, because we see it every day, the advantage taken and hides our natural resources and assets from the rightful owners. That's you, the Pan Belizean. You are the rightful owners of your natural resources and the assets that this country has. And what they do, they give it to foreign interests, and they do it boldly and accountable to no one. Are you happy with the police state, the authoritarian state
No.
that we are living in as I speak? My people, I talk about, making the education system better and affordable. I have to share with you, I will just share with you for an infant child who will be going into infant one, the the book list, right, that a parent has to subscribe to if he wants his or her child to be enrolled in school. Okay? Now, they want a BRC book 1, 2, and 3, a BRC reading book 1, 1, 2, and 3, Lucky Dip, one pack of toilet paper, 4 roll, one small plastic chair so that your child could sit down in class, one Belize flag, 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter cloth, 6 composition book, 93, one pack of eraser markers, one typing sheet per child, one pack of typing sheet per child,
Uh,
12
Mr.
pencil.
Mr. Chairman, are they asking for the typing sheet because the kids they will start doing typing at that level?
Looks like, and this is not
That's
the first
wonderful.
time.
That's wonderful.
Yes, it
That means
looks
that
like because this the way parents go through every year,
oh
right? Every
man.
year, Leonard, right? One pack of colored pencil, 12 pencil, one pack of crayon, one binder for infant one, binder, binder folder with 5 folders for infant one to put in the binder, and a pocket folder, 2-story book for the class library, right? At one level, infant one level. One pack of garbage bag. Listen to this. One small scissors, kids safety type. One pack of Play-Doh. No, cleaning supply, flash, alcohol, wipes, gel, Clorox, gloves, brown napkins, etc. That's if you want to give anything else, etc. Right? Manila folder, one Manila folder, one small whiteboard with markers, one pack of index card, one pack A to Z flashcard. No, that is for infant one. And Mr. Education Minister, you talk about free education. Man, that have a big meaning. Why don't you dissect what you want to tell the parents that is free? But the way you say it and the way you had you all, not you only, you all, past and present, have always said free education. So that's a big blanket across the whole nation. Free. That's kind of attitude stinks because you know damn well that nothing is free. Parents have a hard time getting their kids into school every year, Mr. Man. Every year. And yet, you're going to say free education. So, what you should say, Mr. Education Minister, free education to your family, your friends, and cronies who you directly affiliated with. All you do, you pick up the phone and call the principal, in role X, Y, and Z. No question. Now that's the way we operate. Or give X, Y, and Z one computer, or make sure that they get everything that they want. Right? But I'm talking about the regular poor mother and father, right? This is what they have to go through. And sadly, they don't buy the uniform yet, Leonard, right? They don't buy them back pocket. You see what the politician do?
Or in shoes or tennis or socks
Yes.
or whatever else.
What the politician do, Leonard, you know it, my people. They go and solicit from business places and they get backpack and get and donation from the diaspora. Look at that. And what they do, they hold a meeting and then parade some children and then give away these backpacks in the name of, here they say to my minister, they give away backpack, my minister, they give away school supply.
Mm-hmm.
Full crop. Not a penny come out of the minister pocket to buy them backpack and the exercise book and thing where they give. And I'm glad. Kudos to the children that gets it. Kudos to them. I'm happy for that.
Mr. Chairman, could you permit me a couple words just
Sure, go
on the
ahead,
same
Leonard.
topics that you're expounding on? Back to the list that you was referring to earlier. Uh-huh. For the infant one student. I guess for the other higher classes, them as they go higher up, each of those lists can be bigger and whatever. So if you have a few children in a school as a family, you're in serious trouble. But that's not the point I would have liked to have gone out to. Um, long time ago, or at least before the Belizean government came into power this cycle, the teachers they used to help many of their students and their families with supplies. The teachers would go and buy these big amount of supplies for their classes. Or maybe they would probably get some donation or help from different individuals from abroad, or maybe some merchants who know them and want to be helpful to them. And the teachers would use their own money and buy some of these supplies. But after when they gone in there and deduct 10% from there, a lot of teachers couldn't afford then to continue buying these things for the students them and helping the students them, especially the poor people them. So now what happened? The government take away their money and they also take away their ability to be able to help the students them. And then the government doesn't spend the tax money when they haul and pull with forget. Then go and suborn it to other rich people and play other powerful games, and the money disappear, and the teachers and the kids and the school system still need supply. So then they come on with this list that the teachers can't buy anymore for the kids them and put it as a demand or as a requirement
Fireman.
for your kids to be enrolled in school.
Yes.
So if you can't come up with that list of items, your child is basically marginalized. Even if they attend the classes, they can't participate as a full-fledged
fully.
student.
Yes,
Then they start to get ostracized and they start to feel bad because they see their friend parents can afford to buy them what they need and their supplies.
yes.
And when time to teach, then they get, then they watch the other kid, they make forward progress, but they don't have no way of making that forward progress. There's not an equitable amount of sharing and giving, and everybody get to participate equally as the Constitution demands. Some people who can afford it, like you said, get to participate. And the government relieves itself of that burden to meet the needs of the students. Then they turn around and they want to know, well, why is it that some of the students can't pass the grades? Or they turn around and say, well, because the teachers, they're not competent, or they're not doing this, or they're not doing that. The government is not fulfilling its obligation to provide the means by which the Constitution says that they're supposed to do, so that kids can have an education. It's mandated in our preamble and in the Constitution. I yield back, sir.
Thank you, Leonard.
You're welcome, sir.
So I say this, my people, both at home and abroad, who is watching. Don't the education department gets a budget?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to tell me that that budget does not include cleaning supplies to clean the schools? Huh? I'm just saying this. So I say this to say that where does this money goes? How can we get some accountability? How can we get it? Right?
Mr. Chairman, the money goes to buy lands to supplement the free lands that we already have at overpriced so that then cronies could get some money to get them back for election. That's where
Exactly.
the money goes.
Exactly. So two things that is there to me: the healthcare system and the educational system, right? Because Leonard, we are in the kids go back to school, in a week or so, right? And so sad, Leonard, that parents are having a hard time just to find food for their children to eat,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just to pay their bills, right? Just to survive. Majority of the parents do not have jobs. I'm just trying to put it, contextualize this whole scenario here, right? Then they have 2 and 3 kids, Leonard. So how are they, Mr. Education Minister? How are they going to meet this money to enroll on all this book list and this this items? How are they going to get it to let their kids get an education, to enroll their child in school? And this, I'm just talking about an infant one. So I'm to 2, 3, 4, 5 as standard one, as standard two. So it's more money.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, Mr. Minister, I hear you over and over, Mr. Minister and Mr. Government, free education. And I have called on you on several times. Tell us, tell the world, tell the nation, tell the Belizean people what is free, what it is that is free, man. Mr. Minister, Mr. Education Minister, and Mr. Government, you guys have to be ashamed of yourself. But it seems that you no got no shame, man. And you know that the same man we're going to knock the next poor mother house and poor father house door for they vote for you, man. I don't know to do that. How how low can you all stoop? Huh? No shame at all. What you guys are doing, guys are committing crime against humanity. That's what you guys are doing, right? sets of criminals. You want to say something, Leonard? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. It's a travesty that people have to be put into such a situation where they don't have jobs in the first place. No, we're not saying that everybody in the country don't have jobs, but the majority of the people who really need the help are not getting the help. Everything is high in price. Even if they have a job, the burden that is being placed on them is so overwhelming to the point where some
Yeah.
people live day to day
Thank,
under multiple stresses.
thank
They
you.
have stress with their kids, they have stress with the teachers, they have stress
Thank you.
with job hunting, they got stress all over the place. And all people are under the rest. Are
Thank
you back,
you,
Mr.
Leonard.
Chairman?
Thank you. I want to welcome our next host, Mr. Gregory Brackett, to our program. Go ahead,
Hi, Greg.
Greg.
Good night, Mr. Chairman. Good night to people at home and abroad. And I welcome you to this 187th episode of Belizean Affair. Gentlemen, again tonight, I am highly appreciated of sitting with you guys virtually to discuss matters that is going on in our country, Mr. Chairman. Before I return back to you, one of the major topics, too, that I would like to hear you discuss on is the compulsory takeover from the Feinstein Group and also the Bolito that they are now claiming will make millions that we understood was going to be put for NHI for the people of Belize. Again, that has to do with medical. And we have heard so much about medical, hospital here, hospital there. But yet, the Belizean people still cannot get the service that is required by our government. I turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. My people, here we go again. You hear what Greg just mentioned, that's very important. My people, here we go again. We are hearing from the government, namely Miss Garcia, Nardia Garcia. She had the press conference the other day that they are at a settlement with Brads, but she is not at liberty to discuss how much, right? How much is the settlement, right? Well, you hear settlement. Last one was with Ashcraft. But you mentioned right about Brad's settlement. It happened already. But we'll talk more on that. So it seems like everyone involved with the land deal is on the same page. Yeah, they don't contradict each other. They steadfast, right? It
And
is the
that
best deal for the people.
and that's already
And
settled according to them, Mr. Chairman.
yes,
But I got
yes.
news for them.
And other countries, yeah, you hear one says, in other countries, like that swarpan, people swim in those if it's treated properly.
But he said he
Says
wouldn't
that
swim in
comes from
there.
the lands commissioner, right? Words from the lands commissioner. He said people swim in those. That's what he says,
But when I asked
right?
him if he would have swim in there, he said no.
Okay,
So
right?
why they try to lie to us and try to get us to be so encouraged if we go swim in there if he no one jump in there himself.
And then you hear the Bernard guy said, and it will have a helicopter pad, and then it has to be close to the airport because it will have a helicopter pad. So there is no other way because it has to be right there because the airport is right there, right? Now that's what these guys are saying, right? My people, they are all on the same page, right? My people, you you are again getting your child in school, like I just said it, right? So hold your area representative and your government, responsible, right? And to see, what is going on. The guy, Mr. Martinez, he is promoting the BPO in southern Belize. He said there is jobs at the BPO in southern Belize. So if you want to apply for a BPO job, well, you contact him, right? So I asked, is he a partnership with the BPO, or is it that it's a pitch that um go and apply for this job, and then the person, the interviewer, will tell you, no, we'll give you this job, but you have to vote for Mr. Osborne Martinez and the PUP. That is exactly what's going to happen, right? Because he comes publicly now that he's doing a good deed, right? He is inviting you guys down south to go and work for the BPO, right? Now, you hear about, land deals. Again, you hear one now with the BFB, right? The sport council, right? They get one nice piece of land there, and um it was 19 acres, Leonard. The FFB, sorry, right? Government sold this to the FFB. 19 acres. Government sold it for 903. Government sold it for $903,000, right? And yet the government buying from the Chinaman,
Less
right?
than
Not
that.
19 acres. So these people here are very, very smart. This Briceño administration and his gang, they are very, very smart. You hear what he just sold 19 acres for? Not far from the same ship pond. Not far. Because I know Belma Pond. I pretty much grew up there, right? You have them buying one now from a Chinaman for $6.9 million, which is much acres?
Mr.
How much
Chairman,
acres?
uh,
10 acres. Go ahead,
acres, I
Leonard.
think. Mr. Chairman, um, these people are buying this land from the Chinaman, but the Chinaman wasn't paying that kind of taxes that land was bought for. And I'm sure he's not paying that kind of taxes right now for the price away.
Exactly.
In other words, enough him money out of his pocket and pay
Yeah.
for the higher valuation, the higher taxation rate,
Exactly.
and all these other things.
So,
All that money to come out of we pocket that the government is
we,
suborning.
we will, yes. Now, let me finish up here now by saying, I ask, can a government, especially can this government acquire from private land, right? Acquire private land for public purposes involving it in a private company? Involving it in a private company, the brain, right? Private land for public purpose. You listen now. Public purpose while investing it in a private company. Can the government do that, Greg? I will stop there. Take over.
Mr. Chairman, the government
As will show and
cannot
tell.
do that.
I don't want to spill the beans, Leonard. I'll let everything come from their very own
The
mouth.
government cannot do that. Let's play the tape now.
Of Belize in acquiring a large swath of land out at Stake Bank Key. A release that came out half an hour ago says, quote, with the approval of the cabinet, the Minister of Natural Resources has today signed a notice of intention to compulsorily acquire the disputed 24-acre extension of Stake Bank Island. The parcel identified as Fiat Grant 881 of 2021 and given to Michael Finstein, the former chairman and shareholder of Stake Bank Enterprises Limited, is currently the subject of an ownership dispute at proceedings in the High Court. Unfortunately, that dispute is detrimental to the completion of a project that is in public interest. Once the acquisition and assignment to Stake Bank Enterprises is finalized, The cruise berthing facility, which has been halted since the company entered receivership in March of this year, can proceed to completion. The company's receivership and the subsequent land dispute regarding ownership of the island extension has frozen works on the project, resulting in significant delays to construction and, crucially, delays to completing a facility that, for the first time, would provide cruise ship passengers with a dock disembarkation. Stake Bank's receiver and creditors petitioned cabinet consideration for the acquisition in order to rescue the project and its $270 million investment to date. The creditors have provided a comprehensive indemnity to government so that all costs, if any, ultimately arises from the acquisition, are to be paid by the creditors and not the government. 10 years ago, the then government enacted the Stake Bank Cruise Docking Facility Development Act of 2014, which provided various investment incentives and committed government to supporting Stake Bank's completion in the context of a much-needed cruise berthing facility. This berthing is even more urgent today as cruise ships have become larger. Having a dock for cruise ships, extending the tour times for visitors, and salvaging a major investment project underlines the rationale for Cabinet's decision.
Mr. Chairman, I will straight out say to the Belizean public at home and abroad, it will be unconstitutional if they attempt to do that. And the government should not be getting involved in private entities. In fact, our Prime Minister said that himself, that he will not get involved in private business. He mentioned that with BSI, and again he mentioned that about State Bank. So
And the
where is
court
this notion coming from
and the stevedores.
that it is the Belizean people interest? I want to say this to the people at home and abroad. It's funny how past and present government can take these foreign entities and give them concessions to do business, and nothing comes to the Belizean people. And now we have here again another foreign entity, a government who has blocked all means and way for Belizean in Mr. Feinstein to complete this project that he had set forth to do. Then you can see them go even further as to want to compulsory take over the property that he owns. While there is under a constitution eminent domain, we here and believe in the procedures it takes for that to happen, which is the government would have to pay redress to that owner. But let me say this, you cannot use eminent domain in the people's favor or for people's purpose to give to a private entity. And I will tell you why. Because once you consider it for public use, then the requirement must be paid by taxpayers' money, not a private entity. And I will also say this, if that is the intent of the government to use eminent domain in interest of private entity, they would have had to go back to the house and amend the current law to make it say economical gain. In other words, once it has to do with economical gain to the country, then the government can take it away for private investors. Before I continue, I will turn it back to you so my good cousin can elaborate on that.
Go ahead, Leonard. Go ahead, Leonard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much, Greg. On this particular issue, which is just in the beginning phases as far as I'm concerned, it's going to take a long journey before we come to the end of this process. But to start with, in the first place, the Constitution says that government should take no interest in any private property issue, or that the government should weigh on no one side or the other in regards to private entrepreneurship or private property acquisition and or disposition. Secondly, as in the case where cabinet, because now they are trying to play games and hide behind cabinet and say, well, because cabinet, according to them, supposed to have some powers to sit and discuss matters that relates to the well-being of the country, that they as a cabal in cabinet, basically a cabal of gangsters as far as I'm concerned, are using their cabinet secrecy, process and procedures and protocol to bamboozle our Belizean people into believing that, well, cabinet has spoken and therefore it must be right. So let's run like a bunch of wild animals and take and do it on behalf of the foreign investors. I'll say something again. Mr. Godfrey won that case for BSI on a quick technicality that with stupid government sat in cabinet and authorized our minister to draft statutory instrument to empower the government to go and delve in on people in private affairs. And that was the basis on which they lost that case. They were not supposed to have lost that case. But they were so giddy with power, knowing that they have the super majority in the House to back them up, and the willingness on behalf of some of the people in the cabinet to work supposedly against the cane industry, even the cane farmers, them as a matter of fact. And they made commitments to the cane farmers that they thought that when they went to court that they should have been able to prevail. They could not. Why? They violate fundamental constitutional principles. And they keep doing that over and over and over with new bogus laws here, there, and everywhere. And we keep telling them about these things. And they dismiss what we are saying. And they run like crazy to the courts, only to get themselves slapped down and being told by the court that they are in breach of their constitutional rights, because the legislator is authorized to make laws within the bounds of the Constitution, not outside of the Constitution. Once they go and make laws that are outside of the bounds and the precepts of the Constitution, they do like what Section 1, Part 1, Section 2, Subsection 1 says. The Constitution is the supreme law of Belize. And if any other law referring to substantive laws that the cabinet put to the legislator for the legislator's ascension that they make as law, if any other law, which is how the Constitution prescribes it, is violative of the Constitution, then to the extent of that violation, those other laws are null and void. And the cabinet can make any law that they want, so long as they make it within the bounds of the Constitution. Once they make it outside of the bounds of the Constitution, it's an unconstitutional law, is an unconstitutional law, and it's violative of the Constitution, and therefore it has no basis. So when these gentlemen continue to make these bogus laws and these statutory instruments and violate our constitution, as in this case where they're proposing now to allow the government to get involved with private matters that are, as a matter of fact, in court as of right now, they're biting off more than they can chew. And they know what they're not supposed to do, but they still go ahead and do it anyway. Why? They feel like what they do and say is the law of the land. They don't follow the constitution. They have no respect, consideration, or any kind of allegiance or fidelity to the constitution that they sworn when they wanted to take the power of governance over. So, for all intents and purposes, if you guys go back and check on some of our previous shows, we told them, and in this instance, I'm going to say, we told you so, that Ashcroft was going to sue the government and they were going to settle with Ashcroft for hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, we have that in the past, as a matter of fact. That's history, that's recorded. But before it happened, we recorded it on our show, and it was recorded when the Prime Minister went to the House to tell on himself about the dastardly deals that they were doing behind the scene without coming to the people to get permission to dip in our consolidated fund to settle what he then described in cabinet, in the House of Representatives as all outstanding issues. Some of those outstanding issues at that time was money that they owed PUP as a party, owed Mr. Ashcroft. But all of those things were piled up together and settled out of we Treasury in favor of Mr. Ashcroft. So Mr. Ashcroft now end up they have to sue them to create a legal record about all the crimes that they were committing. At every step of the way, then grab the money and then settle in a way that benefits them and not us, the people of Belize. This same Feinstein thing now, we had told you so as well, that Feinstein was going to be suing. And the way this thing turned out right now, they thought that they were ahead of the game when, first of all, they denied Feinstein the opportunity to complete the project and delay the man project to such a point where the man ended up to have financial problems. And then they turned around and colluded, the government of Belize I'm talking about, colluded with other foreign investors, such as the banks, to call loans in on Mr. Feinstein when he was having economic difficulties. And because the bank called in a loan and Mr. Feinstein couldn't come up with the money quick enough, they never really wanted money anyhow. They wanted to do a favor on behalf of the government because the government is always doing favors on behalf of these foreign interests. So they called the loan and Feinstein couldn't come up with the money quick enough, so they dropped what do you call it thing, Greg, the man will take over the thing on behalf of
receivership.
Receivership, yeah. So then drop on receivership on Feinstein. But that was bad enough. They went further than that. The bank couldn't get the money back, but the receiver, without Feinstein's authority, which was needed by the way, went ahead and borrowed $100 million on Feinstein's head. And his property, because it was under their receivership, got used as collateral. When in fact, Feinstein only owed the bank, I think, less than $50 million. How the hell did they get from less than $50 million to go, that he owed them, to go and borrow $100 million, put the money in a hole 3 times deeper, which was anti-constitutional, illegal, and the matter is still going through the court, and I'm definitely sure Mr. Feinstein will prevail. But in order for Mr. Feinstein to continue successfully, he would have needed for them. Wait,
Mr.
wait, wait,
Brackett,
wait, 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 wait. I need to put this out. People need to know these things. Just give me a second. Yeah.
something of
Wait,
that
wait,
that
though.
I
Wait.
want you to put
Uh huh.
in.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
The way these people are acting is as though they bought out the receivership. That is unconstitutional also.
They- right, but they can't buy out the receivership because the receivership is a temporary process until the money is paid back. Just like when Ashcroft may have for we port in a receivership. He never owned it. He couldn't sell it. He couldn't do nothing with it other than just collect the money for the services that the port was rendering until he get paid back or satisfied. But I want to stay with the Feinstein thing because
Go ahead, Leonard. Go ahead.
um, people need to know this background situation and understand the technicalities and the legality of it and the constitutionality of it as well. They went and borrowed extra money on the man's head, which means that if he couldn't pay the first 50 way more, or the hell he pay 3 times as much. Then some of the people that was working with Feinstein apparently then decided they want to take over the whole thing. So the government get involved again on behalf of these people. Some people from Honduras. The bank is a Honduran bank. That's where I'm based. Okay, originally. And these people were out of Honduras as well as a business concern. And the government is going to go and get into bed with these people against Mr. Feinstein, who is a Belizean. I don't understand how that ever arrived at that point when, in fact, the government should not be getting into those kind of business with no kind of foreign people. And worst of all, suborn for we government powers to those people's interests against the one Belizean. But not only that, give them concession for hundreds of millions of dollars that they will not then contribute to our coffers or to our treasury over many years. They are getting tax-free. In other words, the taxes that should be coming to our government coffers is going to stay with them. And we going to put in money up front to deal with this matter on their behalf, including suborning our constitution, violate our constitution, which says that the government shall take no consideration or take no interest in any private property, save by a law, which then means that they are going to go and create a law now, hopefully according to them, to override that constitutional constraint. They are lying to themselves and fooling themselves because the government nor the legislator cannot make a law that is violative of the Constitution. And it is not the government's prerogative to decide whether a law is correct or not. Then just make the laws. Those laws have to go through judicial review, and the Supreme Court will have to determine whether or not the law that they made meet muster or is constitutional. The legislator does not rule on the constitutionality of a law. So they are fooling themselves, and according to precedents that is already established based on many other cases relating to those same type of subjects, as in the Boeing case and many others, they have been told in no uncertain terms that they just cannot arbitrarily and capriciously make laws that violate the Constitution because on judicial review, those laws will be kicked out. So if the government continue down this path, all they're going to do is expose we treasury to further litigation and further money that we're going to have to come up and pay for with higher gas, higher taxes. And then they say that they give the government exculpatory clause in a financial document that says that the government will not have to come up with the money if in case they have any adverse. That is just words and words on top of words. When you go to court, all those things can be kicked out and backfire. And by that time, the country is already over the barrel because these idiots can go and sign these special deals behind for we back. But I'll leave that
Thank
for
you.
right
Go
now.
ahead, Greg.
I have more that I want to say on
Mr.
that.
Chairman, thank you, Mr. Brackett. But let me take it a
You're
little
welcome, sir.
further to open the people at home and abroad eyes. I will personally tell you why.
That was the
eminent
question I wanted to
domain
know. Why?
will not work with the Feinstein group. You know why? Mr. Ashcroft had the port of Belize in receivership.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people believe that he owned it.
No,
There was no such thing as own in receivership. Mr.
exactly.
Ashcroft wanted to put a tourist port there also. The government did not favor him doing that. They favor Port Magic and put all their work into Port Magic. Block everything that had to do with the Feinstein group. So you know what happened? If this go to court under eminent domain,
They're gonna lose.
they will lose the case. You know why they will lose? It is not within the public interest. They are not acquiring this for the people of Belize
That's for the Supreme
because
Court to decide,
they
not them.
have already taken back the port of Belize where the government can do the same thing as they are doing in Commerce Bay. Turn it into a tourism port. There are other options. And the law is specific. If you have other options, you cannot do that.
Thank you.
So let me go to a tip because I
Yeah,
want the
Greg,
people to
before you do,
understand
Greg, before you
very
do,
clear.
yes, before you do, on the same point that we're discussing just now, I want to add something else. The government is trying to facilitate this foreign investment group to take over Feinstein's stuff so that Feinstein will have to be fighting the foreign investors as well as fighting the government because the government put itself in at the breach. Okay? So Feinstein is about ready to fight the government right now with the case that they're putting in the court under Mr. Barrow. And Feinstein will still have to go out and fight those other people in addition to the government. But the government is contemplating, as you said, Nerida got up on the airwaves and said that they received a proposal, but they're not at liberty to discuss it. The damn proposal involved for we treasury. It involves people who have to pay the extra taxes to meet that. How the hell then I can discuss our business? It is then it go on like that. If it ain't one personal business, then they do, and they only tell you how they what they did and how they did it after the fact. So in fact, they don't even want to tell us sometime after the fact. That people have to go dig up all kind of stuff and embarrass them afterwards.
Amen to that.
But
But
Mr. Brackett,
wait. The point that I was trying to set up though, is that the government should not be in the business of jumping into private concerns and weighing on one side or the other with public treasury money. Okay? But these guys behave as if they actually are the owners and controllers of we money. And then spend free money any which way they want and to hell with we. Just like they try push that $7 million thing. That's how they behave. That's their attitude. That's why I say over and over, we're dealing with a cabal of mobsters in cabinet and in our government under the guise of a government.
Amen
They're
to
not
that.
serving the people and the people's interests. They're serving
Amen
their
to that.
cronies and their other foreign interests who can
Thank
suborn
you.
them on the side. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Leonard. Go ahead, Greg. Play that
Mr.
other clip.
This is blatant legalized fraud by the government. There's no
Legalized fraud.
exception. There's no way around except using the word legalized fraud. And I will tell you why. There's a court case. The government intent is to take this land from the Feinstein Group so that work can continue. Now imagine what they are doing when they do that is if the court case goes on and the government and the court rule in Mr. Feinstein's favor, then they will pay. If the court rule against Mr. Feinstein, then they don't have to pay nothing. And this is why I'm saying it's legalized fraud. The
They're
government
suborning
is
for government
frauding the
powers.
Feinstein group because you
Exactly.
are using eminent domain to acquire this man property. If he goes to court and he loses in the fraud case between two private entities, then there is no eminent domain because the court ruling will say specifically that should go along with the receivership.
But
So
Mr. Chair,
I
oh,
hope
sorry.
people at home and abroad is carefully looking at what is happening here.
There's
Before
a little bit.
I
It's a little bit more
yet
than
hold
that,
on a
Greg.
second, Mr.
Uh,
Brackett,
yes.
because it's important to know the attorney for that company is the past prime minister. And I will say this publicly, let's not forget the messy left Belizean with the acquisition of BTL. So if this government wants to go along with him, when he says that the Belizean people have shares in it because of the concession that they give up, is
Crazy.
phony baloney. Because time and times over, these governments, let's look at Port Magic, the concession
Greg,
that was going to be given up, the government has never come to the people, and all these are not done in the favor of the people, but in secrecy. So don't come telling the people now that you have shares in it because you want to take it over under eminent domain. It is ludicrous, Mr. Brackett.
yes, sir. Um, it's more than that, though, Greg, as I was saying earlier. Okay, and people have to understand these things that I'm saying because it's the legal approach. The government cannot, under eminent domain, not that they won't, because they're intending to do it, but they're not supposed to be getting involved in private matters, and they cannot be taking private property from any private person to give to another private person. If they're taking it from the private person, it's to serve the public good and the control of governments, the people's um, mandamos status. That is that we, the people, are requiring this thing, which is why we are taking it under eminent domain. The powers of eminent domain is ours. It's our power, the power of the government, not the power of Mr. Briceño or the power of cabinet. Cabinet has to abide by the Constitution, and the Constitution says that the government should not take any private property from any private person except under under
Eminent
eminent
domain
domain for a government purpose, for a
purpose.
public benefit purpose. These private people that the government is suborning all powers to is not going to give us a penny out of their money, either in tax or in any other kind of way for the service that we government they provide for them in subordinating for we government and for we constitution.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Brackett, I will take it
Thank you,
further
Leonard.
than that. I believe, this is my belief, Belize does not have a campaign financing regulation. And we just saw that a Honduran won in the South. I believe that this company gave campaign financing to Omar Martinez. And I believe this is the reward that is coming back to them. Because as
Osman
I said
Martinez.
before,
But that we treasury and Pierre, Greg. They're not Briceño and Pierre, they're not Osman and
So,
Pierre, they're
so
not the
what we
business
have
people and
here,
Pierre.
Greg and Leonard, we have a government.
Mr. Wade,
A
Go
compromised
ahead.
before
government.
you go
We
to
have a
that,
compromised government.
I want us to know the difference let's hear this tape about the question.
First of all, well, it's like what you said. You can't compare um, oranges with apples. They are two different instances. In the first instance, with the issue of the land for the Babapan Hospital, there was a buyer and a seller. They met together. They negotiated. One had one higher price. The other had a lower price. They negotiated and then they settled on a price. On the State Bank land, as you all know, there's a legislation that was passed by the UDP, whereby we deem this project of national importance. And now that it seems that between the different investors, they have been having issues, that project has been at a standstill. We have, I think, approximately $270 million. But because there's a dispute with the land, that project cannot be finished. And if you look at the numbers for the cruise lines that they're going down, we need to be able to finish that project. We believe that as a government, what we did is first to put the first notice of acquisition. What does that trigger? It triggers in the owner to come to government and to say, okay, this is my land, and they negotiate a price. If a suitable price cannot be worked out,
Nonsense. Out of
No,
craziness.
Mr. Chairman, Belizean don't have no talent.
Just they act stupid and they try bamboozle
They
people. Like
put
if you don't know
that
better.
act so the owners can come to government
Don't
after you
stupidness you
already
talk about.
compulsory take it over and it's private property. It makes no sense. This is exactly what
Power
the
play.
Boeing case did and the
Power play.
Judge Kante. This is exactly on Monday night why I showed those videos to let the people at home and abroad understand the consequences of that. And I will tell you what will happen. If Mr. Feinstein Group win in the court, you know what taxpayers will pay when they sue the government? The same suit that the Prime Minister said he understand they didn't have no case about for favoring Foot Magic.
Mm-hmm.
The same suit that Lord Ashcroft put against him
Mm-hmm.
that he paid off.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, Pierre
people
Feinstein too.
need to watch what is happening. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
The-
Thank you, Leonard. You have 5 minutes. We have 15 more minutes left.
yes, sir.
I'll give you five out of those 15.
These
Go ahead.
guys, these guys know their assignment, and their assignment is not to govern our country on our behalf. It's for them to use the powers that is vested in our government to harm and pull the system and subordinate those powers to themselves and their cronies. It's not that Mr. Briseno is not a liar and that therefore he shouldn't know what he's talking about. Because, like he said, cabinet. Whenever he speaks, he doesn't say I, in the case of him being a damn ignoramus as regards to these things that he's trying to open up his mouth and talk to. I don't know what the hell he's talking about, or at least pretend that he don't know. I know that he knows. But he's talking to the public as if the public must just take what he say, because what he say is correct and factual and has merits. There's no equity, there's no ethics there. There's no moral there. The man is operating from a perspective of deviancy in the hope of bamboozling the people, misleading the people, and when we have to deal with the outcome, as usual, the fool is treasury pay. No penny come out of a man's pocket when shit hit the fan. But he think that all of we out there are a bunch of idiots, and we don't know the difference. Going back to the point that he raised, okay, let me just, when the thing was being played, I just never want to hear the man wait me to say because he talk long stupidness and lies. Okay? That's why Simon is saying out with his crap, he's just killing the waves and talking craziness like if you don't know better. The man is a slick star. Okay? He is one of the proponents for trying to disenfranchise Mr. Feinstein of his ability to complete his project. They can't get Portico off the ground and done legally because the people that they took the Portico deal to originally thought that the Portico deal was legit and it was going to fly and they could make it work. And who wouldn't? With the kind of concession that they were giving to those people back then. So then put them foot on Portico, on Mr. Feinstein, then put them foot on Mr. Ashcroft project in order for Portico to fly. I know that Portico is dead in the water, as we have always prayed and asked for and hoped for, at least as of right now. It might get resurrected later on, but at least as of right now, it's dead in the water. The investors, the foreign investors who they thought they was going to fleece with them dead raise organization, apparently have seen the light of day and are not interested. So now they are after Mr. Feinstein one to take it over so they could end up with the same outcome. That is that then we end up to have shares in the man and business. At our expense, the people of Belize's expense. Free government will sign deals behind free back and suborn free powers of governance to these people's interests. And when we get to find out where all kind of stuff and done locking with them, we can't get ourselves out of it. And it cost us some money now, or it cost us some money afterwards. And we won't get no money out of them, out of them project, because not one share will belong to Belize or Belize's government or the coffers of Belize. But yet we are spending free money and free powers of governance, getting a private people's business and turn around and have to settle with them big time. Hundreds of millions of dollars that we need right now to take care of free people and free country. And then complain that they can't finish pay the teachers then because we don't got money. While then they squander and mismanage the whole affairs of the country. Out with that, man. I'm tired of them craziness. If my Belizean people don't put them foot down and straighten up these jackals and hyenas, I'm going to walk away from the process and just let them have to eat their own vomit. Okay? Guys, look, I didn't like what them guys did this short pan way.
Thank you. Chairman? Thank you, Leonard. Thank you for that, input there. Gregory, you have 5 minutes, my brother. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I will take this 5 minutes again to let the people understand what is going on here. The bastardization of the Constitution with amendments that is inconsistent with the Constitution. And again, we're seeing what is happening. I will again state that under eminent domain, they must pay redress. This is the reason why Section 69(9) was added into the Belizean Constitution to stop people like Mr. Feinstein and other people to go to the court to seek redress when the government compulsory take over their private property. But let's get a more clearer understanding again.
Hello everyone, I am Anuj Nakade and you're watching Live Law. Live Law is an online legal news portal that brings you news from courts all across the country. In order to stay updated, please subscribe to our channel. In today's video, we will be discussing what is widely considered one of the most important cases and precedents in the history of independent India. It is very definitely the longest case proceeding to ever happen in any case in the country. The case was heard by the Supreme Court for a total of 68 days and the judgment in it was delivered on 24th of April 1973. Exactly 50 years ago today on this date. The importance and impact of this judgment is so clear that the Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, announced a webpage dedicated to the judgment that would help researchers across the world to learn more about it. Hence, we at Live Law thought it would be good to bring you a detailed understanding of the case because it is a turning point in history that defines us today. Many of our regular viewers may know that when we usually report on a story, we are very specific about the number of judges pronouncing the judgment. The reason for this is twofold. The first is because the Supreme Court is a court of record, which means that every judgment of the Supreme Court that interprets the Constitution is the law of the land. Any case that is similar to that case or has the application of principles mentioned in the case will be similar in the future. Second, because the number of judges that are hearing the case will determine the strength of a judgment. For example, a judgment by a 5-judge bench will be binding on a 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court. The Keshavananda Bharti case is a judgment passed after a 13-judge bench heard it, the largest ever to be comprised in the Supreme Court of India. So what was the issue and why did it need to be heard by 13 judges for 68 days? The answer is a little bit of a history lesson. After independence, since our country had a feudal system, large parcels of land were owned by a few people. The Kerala Land Reforms Act of 1963 was a progressive legislation which restricted the area of land which one can own. Based on the Kerala Land Reforms Act, the government took over the land of such big land owners for the purposes of distribution to the landless people. In other words, the tillers of the land were made the owners of the land. One Edenir Mutt, at the time headed by Swami Keshavananda Bharti, owned one such large area of land and their land was to be taken away under the Land Reforms Act. So, Keshavananda Bharti, a priest and the head of the Edenir Mutt, challenged the constitutionality of the Kerala Land Reforms Act, saying the right to property is a fundamental right and the government cannot take away his property. He also challenged this decision of the government on the basis that the Land Reforms Act infringed on his fundamental right to equality, the right to life, and the right to manage religious affairs. But the issue was slightly more complicated than that. You see, the power to take away the land under these Land Reform Acts was protected by constitutional amendments. The 24th, the 25th, and the 29th Constitutional Amendment to be exact. In our Constitution, Article 368 gives power to the Parliament to amend the Constitution. So for Swami Keshavananda Bharti to succeed in the court, he would have to challenge all 3 of these amendments to the Constitution. Then the question arose, what can be the limitation or what is the extent that these power to amend the Constitution can be exercised by the Parliament? Can the Constitution be amended completely by exercising this power by the Parliament? Before going further, we should get to know these amendments. To start with, the 24th Amendment. Through this amendment to the Constitution, the Parliament gave itself the power to amend any part or any provision of the Constitution. The 25th Amendment Act allowed the Parliament to further curtail the right to property, which was a fundamental right at the time. And most importantly, in relation to the Keshavananda Bharti case, the Parliament introduced the 29th Amendment Act. This act put the Land Reforms Act in the 9th schedule. The effect of this was that the Supreme Court cannot review any laws in the 9th schedule, and so the Supreme Court would not have been able to review the Land Reforms Act either. We urge you to remember the context of the 9th schedule because this small detail will be important later in the video. Since Kerala Land Reforms Act touched upon the right to property which was taken away by the constitutional amendments, Swami Keshavananda Bharti also challenged the constitutional amendments which enabled the Kerala Land Reforms Act to take away the Edenir Mutt's land. The final question before the Supreme Court was whether the Parliament can amend the Constitution to take away the right to property, which was a fundamental right at that point of time. The Supreme Court, in an earlier case, which is popularly known as Golaknath versus State of Punjab, had stated that the fundamental rights of citizens cannot be taken away by way of constitutional amendments by the Parliament. The judgment was delivered by an 11-judge bench. This is why the Supreme Court now had to form a 13-judge bench to hear Keshavananda Bharti versus State of Kerala. More than 100 cases were read before the court during the course of these arguments, which went on for 68 days. Then, The Union government took a stand before the court that the Parliament had the complete and absolute power to amend the Constitution. The issue then became whether there can be a judicial review of Parliament's power to amend the Constitution absolutely. Finally, the court overruled the Golaknath case and held that Parliament has the power to amend even the fundamental rights in the Constitution and upheld the 24th Amendment. But there is a caveat here. What is the extent of power? Is the power unlimited? The court answered this question by saying that the Constitution has something called the basic structure. Basic structure is not defined in the Constitution, but is understood to be the essence of the Constitution. After Keshavananda Bharati, the Supreme Court identified many aspects of the Constitution which is known as the basic structure, such as democracy, the independence of judiciary, secularism, and the principles of equality, etc. That means tomorrow, even if a party has an absolute majority, which means the party with complete control of the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, cannot amend the basic structure of the democratic character of our country and make it a dictatorial government. That is the basic structure doctrine. The court also later...
Thank you.
Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have 2 minutes left. Guys, it's always a pleasure to sit in your company, Leonard and Greg. I just hope that, tonight show, would shed some light more on the secrecy, shed some light more on the kind of government that we have. There's nothing wrong with the government, it's the people, the leadership, the politicians, right? They are the ones that we should hold accountable, because they are the ones that do unto us repetitiously, past and present, right? So, I just hope that, people see that the kind of issues that we subscribe to, the kind of issues that we talk about, the kind of issues that we bring to the public, because it directly affects poor people, it directly affects Belizeans. And I just hope that our program sheds some light on the land scheme in this country, past and present, the way our elected leaders use our natural resources for their own personal gain, and they play chess with our natural resources. They do it all the time, right? So, my people, I say this to say that, we talk about, back to school, and I call on the education minister to, please let the nation know what you call free education, because education is not free in this country. It's all a sham and a lie, and you got to stop doing that. And on that note, I want to say good night.
Mr. Chairman, before you sign off, I have a bonus for people that's been listening to this particular program tonight, in terms of saying this. I'm going to make a statement, and I'm going to ask a question. The statement is: India and Belize are members of the Commonwealth, but they are different in the structure of their governance. There are things that happen in India that can't happen in Belize. There are things that happen in Belize that can't happen in India. Does Belize elect their head of state? No. Does India elect its head of state? Yes. People need to recognize the difference. They need to research those things and learn and understand the reason why. It's peculiar to our constitution. And the constitution of India is far superior to the constitution of Belize. The constitution of India is much more detailed and much more elaborate and substantive in terms of dealing with specific issues as compared to the Constitution of Belize, which is minuscule, and because of our way of governance and the way free politics is played, our Constitution has been compromised, is being compromised, and apparently will continue to be compromised, especially as regards to the last judgment that the judge Nebi, I think it's NABIE, ruled on as regards to Section 90 by stating that she was dismissing the claims that was requesting that the government fulfills its obligation under Section 90 and make each division nearly as equal to each other so that everybody could have almost an equal power of the vote. She dismissed the elephant in the room as regards to that particular issue and did not address it any further. And as a result, the government continues to violate Section 90. And as a result, the government continues to violate other parts of our Constitution without any regards or respect or consideration for compliance. So remember that India elect their head of state. They call him a prime minister like how we call for we prime minister a prime minister. But that prime minister is much more powerful than our prime minister. There's no governor general. There's no governor general in the hierarchy of the Indian power structure or elective. In other words, the Indian people don't go to a governor general to get assent for governing their country. Their independent status is different than the independent status of Belize. But we'll take those
If I may say this though, Mr. Brackett,
Go right ahead, sir. We're just dealing with a little bonus.
our country of Belize
Okay.
can become a democratic republic within the Commonwealth, just like India.
Yes.
Our constitution is identical,
India is the
and
biggest
the ruling
country in the
and
world
the basic
population
structure
wise.
is
Belize is
used
not in that
worldwide.
category. We can't hold with one. India could hold with one.
That is correct, but I
We're in
was
a, we're in a
just
different
saying,
predicament.
though,
Uh-huh.
while we
You're
are
correct.
threatened by
You was
our
correct.
neighbors and India is not,
Well,
we
India
have
is
to
being threatened by China
remember,
too.
that India is a democratic republic with a constitution that is strengthened to serve its people, and they go by the constitution, not
Unlike
against it.
Belize.
And this is
Not
why
we
I
have
keep
here in
We
saying,
Belize.
people bastardized free constitution, both the
right,
PUP and the
this
Thank
UDP.
is
you.
why I
And right now
keep
they are
saying,
joining hands. Both PUP and UDP are now joining hands to screw over the people of Belize as usual. Mr. Barrow is
Exactly.
right there stretching out the hand now to collect some money from the Belizean people again.
Exactly.
They're all playing the same game.
Sad.
That's why some people call them the PUDP.
Anyway,
That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you
yes,
very much.
thank you
A
again.
lovely
It's
program
always a
again.
pleasure. And I hope that our people, both at home and abroad, take away something and see these jackals for who they are. Every so often you see they stretch out their claws. These hyenas, they stretch their claws. Right? That's all they do. Sad. Until then, only the people could save the people. Say good night. God bless Belize.
Invite you for Friday.
Oh yes.